Ah, image zero naira for context.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Misunderstood, where career roles are simplified and career myths demystified. Thank you for watching the previous episode. If you have not watched it, please go back and watch the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. On today's episode, we have a product manager. Personally, I'm learning on today's episode. I'm here to learn a lot from our guest. So we'll let him introduce himself and tell us a little bit about product management. With me on the show today is Kolade. Kolade, welcome.
Hi, hi. Thank you so much for having me. It's really a privilege to have an opportunity to be able to share with the esteemed audience and yourself about myself and product management generally. So again, my name is Kolade Orilowo, and I've been doing products off and on, not for almost 10 years now, off and on. Okay,
Wow.
depending on the context, and basically, product management is how we craft out technology or digital solutions to solve human problems. And these human problems can be anything, right? It can be
Yeah.
something as simple as the need to be able to communicate with somebody else over a very long distance, right? The fact that you could even hear us today and be able to join this podcast today is because someone thought that there are some conversations that two persons would want to have and other people will be able to benefit from it, and someone created a platform to be able to scale information and make it readily available or accessible to millions and billions of people across the globe. Now, that's a
Yeah.
human problem where knowledge needs to be spread, and someone thought about this problem and decided to craft a digital solution to solve this problem. So, nutshell, digital solutions to problem is what caused the rise of product managers. And as it is, product, we're talking about the digital products in this case, we serve as the person that actually manage them. Okay, so that's a bit about management and myself.
All right. Thank you, Kolade. Okay, so aware that you were in the banking space. So let's know, how did product management start for you? How did you go into product management? How was the switch? So just let us know.
Okay, so I say I've been in product management on and off for some years because my foray, I started out my career largely. I studied engineering, did a bit with construction. I've done a bit of agriculture. I've done a couple of things here and there before I entered into the banking sector. And when I got into the banking sector, in hindsight now, what seemed to be a negative has later become a positive because I got a job in one of the oldest legacy banks in Nigeria, right? And during the
Wow.
period when I joined the bank was in a transformation process, right? A lot of processes were still very paper based and analog then. And one of these first set of jobs that a team, which I was part of, was to figure out how to move all those processes to digital. Now, I'll give a very, very random example of one problem that we had to solve and the state of things then. So, picture today you need to get a debit card, an ATM card, which as we call it in Nigeria, right? Today,
Yeah.
in most banks, you can go in and get your debit card within a day. Okay. Roll it back to when I joined the bank. Getting your debit card was an average of 3 weeks to 1 month to get a debit card. Okay.
Wow.
Yes, it was that. And we also now see innovation today where you can actually go to an ATM terminal standing alone and actually request for a debit card, and the ATM will produce a debit
Yeah.
card for you with your own name. Now, within the year that I joined banking till now, a lot of digital solutions to that human problem has come into play. Okay. So these solutions to this problem don't just come as an eureka moment for someone to just think about. It comes from building out digital solutions, digital products, and iterating and improving on them over the years so much that it gets to a point where there is now a lot of convenience for human beings. I know a lot of people will struggle to remember a time where you couldn't transfer money from one person to the other. But guess what? This time that we're talking about is less than 25 years ago. Again, when I'm saying 25 years ago, I'm talking about year 2000. As at 1998, 1999, 2000, you couldn't transfer money from a bank account on your phone to another bank account. But a lot of technology
Yeah.
and things have changed so much that now it looks very, very mainstream. Okay, so how my first experience and foray into product management was that bit of work of trying to of actually re-engineering internal processes within a very large organization that was serving initially then a couple of hundreds of thousands of customers to then millions of customers. So our work was to focus and think about how to redefine that. But then that wasn't even product management proper. A few years into my banking career, there was a reshuffling and a need to move talents around within the bank. And that's where I moved to the department that was actually handling product management itself. And at that moment, at some point, I started out as a junior person in that team and then rose to lead the overall product team that was in charge of USSD. That's those star 826 star 737
Oh,
banking
yeah.
code. I had to manage that. Internet banking, that's banking when you need to log into a desktop or a laptop, and then the
Mm.
mobile banking, the common mobile banking that sits on whether you're Android or iOS. And even at some
Yeah.
point, I was managing WhatsApp banking where you say hello and then you chat with a bot and then it can do your transfers and all of that for you. So that
Oh,
was my first exposure into product management, really.
wow. Wow. So it was something that you stumbled upon.
Yeah, pretty.
This thing reminds me of something that that usually say now you the road that is gonna go the give you seats. So you were just shuffled and then somehow God just put you somewhere that has been leading you onwards.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So can you paint a typical day for us in the life of a product manager?
Okay. So that's an interesting question. And the truth is, um, product managers, especially those who know what they are doing, are constantly in a building phase, right? So we say that
Mhm.
products usually go through cycles, right? And you will first start with understanding the problem, building out a digital solution, working with your developers to, write code, package the solution, whether it's a mobile app, put it on App Store, on Play Store, whether it's USSD or web app, put it on a website URL and all of that. When you roll the first version of the product, your work doesn't stop. You would typically do what we call instrumentation, right? Figure out a way to get analytics from the product to get feedback and improve that product. And I'm saying this because a day in the life of a product manager will be determined by the phase they are in the journey of building their products, right? Whether the product has gotten to the market at all, whether it's a product that is established in the market and needs some form of improvement, whether it's a product that is already in the market and it just needs to scale and grow, and a lot of marketing and go to market activities are going on. So depending on the phase in what we call the product life cycle. But irrespective of the phase, a day will typically start with your early morning meeting, which is popularly called the stand-up meeting, right? Again, it's called stand-up because you are literally supposed to be on your feet while you're having that meeting. But then we know a lot of product managers work remotely nowadays. So that means that you're probably sitting on a chair and having stand up. Although some people still try and just stand up for it, anyways. So you start with your stand up meeting, and there are three main things that you do in the stand up meeting in the morning. What did you achieve yesterday? What do you need to achieve today? And then are there any blockers in between? So typically, after you're done with your stand up, if there are issues that came up from the stand up, especially blockers that are not allowing the team to be able to move forward, then you'd have further meetings like sidebar, just to iron out things, give clarifications, and see how to get the product to move forward. So product managers, most of them typically run what are called sprints. Okay, just picture it's like a sprint you are running, And the sprint, which will typically last for like a week, 2 weeks, max 4 weeks, you have some particular set of goals you want to achieve. So you're sprinting with the team to achieve those goals. So it follows like a cycle, a predictable cycle. The only thing that makes it work interesting is that each sprint you're working on different things. So there isn't so much monotony to the work, right? So after you're done with your stand-up, you'd have further reviews with your team. If you have, again, for very, very product managers that are doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're supposed to also go and check the health of your product, okay, by looking at your analytics dashboard, find out what is going up, what is going down, what is working, what is not working fine, and then depending on the product you're working on, you might also spend some time talking to customers, right? Because remember, we solve problems for human beings, so you spend a lot of time talking to customers, getting feedback from them about the use of the product, having interview sessions. If you're in the middle of building out a particular new solution, you want to get feedback from the market as regards what they want, what they are currently using. So there are typically a lot of interviews. So you spend some considerable time talking, okay, to persons. Another thing is that product managers typically collaborate with a lot of people within the organization. Like just today, I had to spend some time with finance, right? What are we thinking about? We have a solution that we want to roll out to our customers. We need to find out how much should we charge, what is going to be profitable, what is not going to be profitable, what is the best price point, what is our cost to even bringing that product to the market. So you will talk to team like finance, you talk to marketing. I had to spend some time talking to marketing also today. Or what is going on, what are the things you're driving. So you basically meet with a whole with a lot of different functions within the organizations, and then typically you are responsible for driving the vision and direction for the entire core technical delivery team. So I hope this helps to give a bit of insight onto what the life of a product manager looks like.
Okay, so can I say that your team is no, okay, maybe not just your team. I think project managers also fall into this, where you can say, so they call you the head of product management, right?
Yeah, my title, okay, is head of product.
Is head
Okay.
head of product.
Yeah.
So you're heading managers.
Uh,
meanwhile, in the corporate world, you have the manager over people, but you're heading managers, plenty
yes.
of managers, right?
Yes, over time, and again, maybe because of experience and what I've done over time, it's actually team leads of product teams that actually report to me now. Okay, so these are leaders within the organizations that own. So we are structured in multiple business verticals, right? We have three business verticals, and actually a fourth vertical that is not customer facing, but a build out solution, but it's not necessarily customer facing. So each of those teams then have leaders that oversee them, and these leaders report to me, basically. Yep.
Oh, awesome.
So again,
go on.
Yeah, if so, for me, I think my work is more now around casting vision, providing clarity, and helping to create the enabling environment for innovation and swift delivery of solutions. So that I spend a lot more time. Again, I mentioned stand-up meetings, right? I'm not sure when last I attended a stand-up meeting, but product managers do stand-up meetings every day, right? I will only be called into a stand-up meeting if there is a problem that requires my attention, right? So I wouldn't be your typical product manager, okay, but of course I spent years being a product manager at the level where I had to attend stand-up meeting every day, and I sometimes miss it really.
Awesome. Okay, so that takes us to the next question. So how has your approach changed over time, considering trends? Trends are always changing, and also how has your approach changed over time as a product manager?
Okay, so in the technology space generally, not to even narrow down on product manager, before we used to have revolutions like every 3 years, okay, where like whatever tech stack or whatever it is you are using to build right now, in another 3 years, you need to reinvent, learn new things, and basically sort of retool yourself to be able to catch up with what is going on. But in the last 1 year, that has dropped from 3 years to 3 months, right? Every three
Wow.
months, you probably are already out of fashion and you probably are no more in the market, right? So that means from things around understanding AI, especially the popular ones, the LLMs, large language models, OpenAI, of course, GPT, DeepSeek, Bard, and all of those guys, and all that have changed in the
Yeah.
world. And you know that even for them, they've moved from like every quarter, things are moving. Right now, we're even in the era of AI agents, which is another very different dynamics. So for us, in previous companies I've worked in, we had quickly started adopting AI into a lot of our solutions because nowadays when we build solutions, so I talked about how we solve problems, but one important thing you need to notice is that you're not the only one solving the problem, and your relevance is based on who is the best person solving the problem. So there is competition out there, and because we're talking digital solutions, it's not like somebody selling akara down the road where for you to compete you have to come and set up a akara shop. No, when it comes to digital solution, the same solution you're offering in Lagos, Nigeria, somebody can bring it from the Philippines. And saying when I mean bring it in, I mean they just put it on a URL and make it available to the world. And somebody can start using it. So competition is wide everywhere. And what that means is that you have to ensure you're relevant. So for me to keep innovating and, changing the way I work over time requires constant learning. And when I mean constant learning, I mean weekly, monthly trainings, okay,
Wow.
where you have to constantly be up to speed with what you're doing. A lot of the solutions my team builds right now, okay, that I lead them are core AI capabilities, core AI solutions at the core of it. That's sort of like the core driver that generates a lot of value within our business space, right? And again, maybe AI is broad, okay. I don't want to go too technical because of the audience, okay. So
Yeah.
we use more of ML, machine learning. Yeah, we use large language models like OpenAI also, and then we also have our own proprietary AI technology that we built internally within. So we have a proper R&D team that I work very, very closely with to build out solutions using AI. So that is what I would say has been one critical thing in terms of retooling and ensuring one is constantly relevant within the product management space. And of course, we know AI is going to impact everything in the world, but if you're in the heart of technology, we feel the impact a lot faster than every other person.
Talking about AI, I was waiting. I said I'm going to ask you this question. So, do you think they've been saying AI is coming to take over? Can AI really take over everything?
Well, it depends on the definition of takeover. If we're talking about AI being part of everything that we do every day, right?
Part is different. They said AI is coming to take a lot of jobs from people, your roles, they are going, everything. Yeah. AI is going to take over. You're just going to sit at home.
Okay, so the thing is similar to what happened with computers. By the way, I would refer to a movie I watched recently, right? So I was watching a movie about some black women that were working with NASA in the 1960s and 1970s, right?
Yeah.
And when they started working with NASA, their role was they were called computers, right? And human computers. Apparently, the name computer came from people that used to compute numbers for companies. Mm-hmm. So for companies that have a lot of maths that is involved in the work that they do, like NASA, they hire very smart mathematicians and place them in the room and give them complex algebraic equations and all of that for them to solve. And those human beings were called computers. But then the computers themselves and the technology, then Fortran then came to the world. Okay? And what it meant was that these human computers were no longer needed. Their job was stolen.
Yeah.
Guess what? A new type of job came up. Some people needed to program the computers. So they now
Yeah.
needed programmers. Okay? I'm taking time to explain this example to let it be clear that AI would replace a lot of jobs, but it's going to create some new types of jobs, which is what
Okay.
every single technology that has come does. It makes some jobs to be moribund and no longer. Imagine typists, people that used to type, typewriters. Okay,
Mm.
then where are they now today?
Ah, my mom's typewriter is still
Yeah,
in
you
our
understand. For
room.
the ones that evolved, they are now people that are working with computers, right?
Yeah.
The ones that did not evolve probably are out of job and doing something else. Okay, so same thing.
Yeah.
AI is bringing some new vista of jobs that people need to do. The question is this: are you preparing yourself to be able to do those jobs? Yes, there are some basic jobs that are going to be massively impacted by AI that they will no longer be relevant, and that's the reality. Okay, so it is not all doom; it's
Sad
about how we
truth.
position. Really.
Yeah. Awesome. So we need to prepare for what is coming.
Yeah, yeah,
All
absolutely.
right. So I'll ask you the next question. How do you figure out what your customers really need? How do you figure out?
Okay. So that's an interesting question because it's at the heart of what we do, right? And there is
Yeah.
no magic or complex thing to it. You have to know how to listen and observe. So the more ability you have as a product manager to listen and pay attention to your environment, the more you have the opportunity to build fantastic products. Okay. So you listen to
Okay.
customers and you pay attention to their problems. But in that listening and paying attention to their problem, and by the way, you talk to customers. When I mean listen to them, go visit them. You want to build a digital solution, you want to build a product, you want to be a product manager, you want to build software. First thing is go out, go and talk to people. I used to work in a company where we built software for schools. We go to schools, we sit down with them, we meet the principal, we meet the teachers, we talk to them, we invite them to our office, we gist, we talk. That is the only way that we could ever build solutions. There was time I needed to build a solution that was going to impact on the different types of result format that schools offer. We had to go to get people from nursery school, from primary school, from secondary school, invited them to our office, and then listened to them and documented everything that they had to say. Okay, but the bane of the matter where some people make mistakes in product management is when you listen to the solution that the customer is offering. So I'll take that again. Listen to the customers. That's what we do. We listen to the customers,
Mhm.
but the solution is not the customer that will tell you the solution. You understand digital technology. You know the tools that you have to get a solution out,
Yeah.
right? But they know their problems. Okay? You cannot know their problems like them, and they cannot know the solutions
Yeah.
like you. You have to learn how to balance. So this is one of the key skill sets that we deploy. Okay. Even tomorrow, I'm going to visit a customer, right? To go and listen and hear what is going on in their space. So listening, 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 listening. The more you listen, the more you pay attention, the more you build out successful products.
Okay. So how then do you handle feedbacks from these customers, and how does it affect your decision making?
Okay, so in product management, we do a lot of experiments, right? So we are also, again, you have to be humble to do the job, in the sense that you don't assume you know anything. You allow data to lead you. Now, when a customer tells you their problem, you go put some tools together, whether you're building a software, you come up with all of the technical jargons inside the software, package everything together, give it to the customer. The next thing is when you give to the customer, you have to listen and observe. Okay? In fact, you show them, you tell them to use the solution, and we do something called usability testing, where you give customers your solution and you just tell them to try and figure their way around. And then you begin to see their frustration if they're able to find their way around, or you see their excitement where they're like, oh, this is so smooth, this is nice, this solved this major problem for me. So if the feedback is negative, it is a lesson for you to know what to go and change. So in fact, the
Yeah.
product manager, we pay attention. In fact, a negative feedback is a gift, right? So something that you're actually watching out for, that, oh, I missed this. I remember a time that myself and my product designer, at a particular role I was working on, we spent so much time designing this very fantastic solution. It was like the best thing after sliced bread. We had packaged everything well, and then we took it for usability testing. The first person we gave it to was like, how do I do this? And she was like, can't you see it? It's there, right in front of. But then the reality was that the person did not, what you were thinking was nice. For the person, they couldn't see what was here. So that those kind of feedback just help you. And with that, we had to go back, start retweaking things all over. So feedback, whether positive or negative, is a gift that helps you to, redirect yourself. And as we always say, any product you have today is just but a sample of the first version that would get better. If you ever hear the story of the first iPhone, a lot of people would never buy an iPhone if that was the final version of the iPhone.
Okay, so I think you've also gone on to answer the next question, because I was going to ask how you then make changes, how you turn around after you receive that feedback to go ahead and change a design or a product. So I'll go on to ask you, how do you work with your designers and your team? How do you guys work together?
Okay, so I think the critical thing is everyone brings a skill to the table, and first is to know the boundaries of what skill that you have. And I was still speaking with my colleagues a few days ago and letting them know that when we are in a meeting and there is a designer, there is a product manager, it's not the most senior person's idea that should win. It's the person with the best idea, irrespective of your level, right? So
Sure.
the product designers, for example, they have what we call I don't want to use anything too technical. I would say let's just say design skills, right? They can bring to life ideas that are written out in black and white, right?
Yeah.
While product managers spend a lot more time trying to research and investigate and understand what the customer's problem is, and being able to articulate it by documenting what we use a term called user story, right? That talks about what this person is really trying to achieve and why they want to achieve what they want to achieve. Okay? And an example would be as a podcast host, into bracket Chimsy. Okay? She wants a video calling tool so that she can do a podcast. That's an example of what we call a user story, right? Sounds very, very basic. But you see, paying attention to that, Chimsy has something, a desire to create a podcast. That's our end goal. And this video calling tool is to help her to create a podcast. Everybody that is building a tool for you would think about your experience. The final goal is to get a podcast out. What must we do to enable her to get the podcast out? Then that's when you start listing out all the features. These are things to help her to achieve her goal. A product manager has that skill to craft out all of that, right? To know all of those things based on research and experience. But then the way the solution must look and the way it must feel, the way the clicking, whether you navigate right or left and all of those, the position and everything, these are the skills of the designer. Okay? And when the designer comes with it, of course, the product manager has an input. They discuss, okay, this is what I mean. Yes, this solves the problem. No, it doesn't accurately solve it. These are the things we need to change. So they collaborate together to come up with what those solutions will look like. Okay, it's very much a collaborative effort.
Awesome. Okay. So, what are some of the challenges that you face when working with these different teams?
Challenges. You have to switch context, right? When you're talking to a designer, the way you talk is different from when you're talking to an engineer. It's different from when you're talking to someone in
Okay.
marketing or when you're talking to someone in finance. So you need to, we typically call it context switching. You need to know how to switch context very quickly in your conversations. Okay? When you're talking to a developer, they are thinking technical. Okay?
Yeah.
They are more focused on technical feasibility of what you're talking about. You are talking language around APIs. You are talking about front end technology, back end technology, how this page will be rendered. You're talking about all of those technicalities, okay?
Yeah.
And they are more into the details. They will ask you a lot more deeper questions because that's the person that is going to knit together the code that would make this thing function in a particular way, right? But when you're talking with a designer, for them, it's usually more focused on what is the customer's experience? Okay, how do all of these things connect? There are close similarities in what both of them say, but the designer is more focused on the customer, not the way things are wired together. More on when
Yeah.
the person touches it, what should the behavior look like? Okay, where should we position this? How do we handle accessibility? How do we think about our color tones? How easy it is for the person to discover this particular thing. So we are talking about different things entirely. When you're talking about somebody in marketing, you're talking a lot more around tone of voice. Okay, does this fit with our brand identity? You understand different types of like. And when you're talking with finance, they're asking you how much does it cost? How much are we going to
How
make from it?
much?
So having to discuss with all of these persons, you need to understand the nuances that they all have. And thankfully, for someone like me, because I started the major part of my career in a very large organization with thousands of staff, I had to do a lot of context switching all the time. Okay, where you're talking, you see different stakeholders that have different priorities and what drives them, and you must know how to speak it in their languages. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So, have you ever had a disagreement with your team, and how did you guys handle it?
Uh I think the interesting question would be: Had there been a day that you have not had a disagreement with your team? That would be the question.
So it's a normal thing, especially when it comes to designers.
If you don't have disagreement, somebody is pulling somebody's leg. If you don't have disagreement,
Yeah.
there's psychophant in the room, right? There is somebody in the room. If everybody in the room holds the same opinion with you, then there's a problem. Okay, so I would call them LD conflict. So in the organization I work in, one of the things we say is that we embrace conflict, right? As in you embrace conflict. Conflict is part of life, okay, and it's not
Yeah.
something you shy from. It's something that you should wake up in the morning and actually expect, because when you have people that are passionate and are opinionated about things, they will go this direction. In fact, it took me a very long time to realize that there are times that you might have the brightest idea in the room, but your idea might not be what will be executed. And yet, you have to work along with whatever you agree on as it.
That must be challenging.
Even if it's suboptimal, right? There are times that you have to work along. Okay. I guess that's the reason why a lot of people like to go and start their own business, right? Because I want to be the boss of my own. Okay, but so conflict is something that happens all the time for us. We have it's rare for me to go into a meeting room with my team and we don't have differing opinions. It's impossible. In fact, it would be strange for me to expect that all of us will follow one direction. So there's this person that's saying, no, I think we should use this. I'm saying, no, we should use this. And of course, as a rule of thumb for me, the brightest idea wins. Whether it comes from me or it doesn't come from me, it doesn't matter. Just the brightest idea should always win. Yeah. So conflict is part of what we face every day.
Okay. So have you guys ever worked on a product? You saw everything at the end, came out well, they liked it, but then you were talking about finance, then it doesn't pull in as much funds as you guys were thinking you were going to make from it. How did it come back to you? How did it fall to your desk? How did you handle it?
Ah, it made zero naira. For context,
What?
we spent months building a solution and it was a wrong decision.
Wow.
And it's very, by the way, this is very, very common in product management. Okay. And that's why there is a sort of like mantra that you should fail fast. Okay, fail quickly and move on. You should fail fast and fail cheap. Ensure that you spend the least amount of money or resources to bring a solution to the market. And once you are clear that the market is not your validation of that solution, that the market doesn't want it, then you quickly kill the product, basically. So a lot of us have killed a lot of products. Okay. And some of the products, it's not that they are not good in themselves. Sometimes it's even that they have come earlier than their time. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Sometimes you build solutions that your market is not ready for yet. Whether it is that the purchasing power of the people is not high enough, or like think about people that try to build mobile banking apps in 1997. By the way, there were ideations of mobile banking as far back as then. But the question is, what was smartphone?
Really?
What was smartphone? Yeah. There were editions of mobile apps. What was smartphone penetration? How many people had mobile devices? Okay. If you bring such a solution into a country like Nigeria, then it was going to fail. Okay. USSD and everything that picked up now, it's not the first time that people tried it. Some of the banks that we even hear making a lot of noise about USSD are not the first set of persons to build USSD or start pushing it. It's just that when they came on board, the ground was already set. Mobile phone penetration had grown to millions of customers. There were more customers with mobile lines than even bank accounts. So it was just the right time for them to be able to scale. Okay, you think about social media platforms. Facebook was not the first. Okay, there were loads of social media platforms before Facebook, but Facebook came at a time where mobile technology where the mobile phones now had a lot better operating systems to be able to run a lot more processes. So it just made sense for them at that moment that now people can share pictures, like pictures, and do everything on their mobile app. And they also were smart to go mobile early enough. Okay, so it helped them to be able to capture the entire market. Okay, so the solution we built then was something very interesting. Unfortunately, I can't talk about it because it's still a proprietary technology of a company. But basically, the market was not ready. The market was not ready for it, and the solution is fantastic. Maybe if we had the resources to take it to another country, we probably would push. And guess what? In another 5 years, 6 years time, that solution might still be needed by the market.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's your biggest challenge that you've taken on in product management?
My biggest challenge is probably the one I'm doing right now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I'm currently working with my team, on some very, very complex applications using some very, very complex technologies. Okay. Let me talk about the part I can talk about, okay, without breaching any form of NDAs or any form of stuff. So, in our industry, it's important to build fast and build efficiently. So, while a lot of companies will spend more time when they want to roll out solutions to think about having a web solution, having Android, okay, and then having iOS. For a lot of companies, they build those three with 3 separate technologies and 3 separate development team, set of engineers, right? In some companies, you find out that they will merge the two mobile, iOS and Android together, and build them using one technology, even though a lot of people don't know. But for us, we are building with a technology where we are building once for all of the 3 platforms at the same time. And it's actually very, very interesting, right? But it comes with its own unique set of challenges and complexities, right? So just picture that your mobile app and your internet banking were built once but deployed on mobile and web at the same time. It's a very, very interesting thing to do.
Yeah.
So that's again, that's just the surface, right? There's a lot we are doing in that space, and there we're doing some very, very fantastic work that when I look around, I don't even have any reference point in Nigeria to use to compare to say, oh, let me go and look at these people's note and see what they did. Nah. Most of the things we are doing, we are literally the first set of persons that are breaking the ground in the country on that.
Okay. So far, what has been your proudest moment as a product manager?
My proudest moments. There are a lot. There are a lot, and maybe not the things that people would think are the most complex things.
Yeah.
I think one of the proud ones was when I had to join a friend who was building out a technology company and had done a lot of fantastic work for a lot of years. And then he needed to have a product team. The company did not have any product team. And I had to move in and build a product team from scratch. And the key
Wow.
work then was that we had to change a lot of processes within the organization. And when we were done changing the processes within the organization, we saw increase in revenue. We saw a lot of things begin to transform. Our product that used to take months to deliver to the hands of customers, we literally got to some point where we could deliver that same thing in a day or two. It's a B2B solution,
Wow.
so it's quite complex. It's not like regular mobile apps and all of that. So we launched a lot of fantastic things and we saw a lot of growth. And that was the first time I was also going to take a solution and sell it outside the country. So we had customers in the UK, customers in Ghana, Tanzania. It's just been fantastic. That was the first time I also had to embark on the journey of doing language translation with the mobile app, which we call internationalization. So that's one. Another one would probably be when the first time I had to use digital solution and I saw the value that is created, where we made a product decision, and that then, way back then, that product decision was able to generate $2 million for us. It was brilliant. It was great. I was amazed
Wow.
at that experience. But this again was years ago, right? So I'm saying multiple. Another one I could think about, customers were having challenges with doing double transactions, right? You send money to someone and then you mistakenly send money to the same person again. And we implemented just a very small feature where if you try to send money to the same account too frequently within a very short period of time, it just tells you that it's a duplicate transaction. And all of the customer complaints that used to come in that, oh, I sent money to this person twice, come and take my money back and all of that. We just saw all of those complaints disappear.
Wow.
Now, simple things like that are some of the very, very interesting innovation that we've seen affect thousands and millions of customers, and really, 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 really exciting when you do some of this stuff. So there are loads of proud moments for me, and even within the last 1 year there, we've built out a solution. I have a fantastic and brilliant team. We built out a solution that is the first of its kind in Nigeria. No one has that solution. These big boys like Oracle, Microsoft that deployed that technology in Nigeria, and we're able to build something. And while we're not done fully yet, it's already in the market and it's something we are all really, really proud of. So there are loads of proud moments like that, in the journey.
Awesome. All right. So, what would be your advice for someone coming into product management right now?
I'll say just start. There are a lot of product management jobs, right? And for you to break into the industry is not actually very difficult. The only problem you will have is if you're thinking about money first at the beginning, you probably will struggle. But if you can take the first few years to pay the price of actually getting hands-on experience, whether it's you volunteer, loads of people are looking for product managers. Just go there, volunteer, get something, talk to a friend that wants to build a solution. Say, I'll come and be your PM. Okay? go and use ChatGPT to start your PM career, learn everything. But of course, mentorship is very important also. But listen, go and
Yeah.
learn and everything, and get involved in building one solution. And as you start that, you are going to set yourself up for a very beautiful journey, okay, where you will. I think one of the interesting things about product management is bringing things to life, like things that never existed before, bringing it to life.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most exciting things. And then seeing how your product can literally touch millions.
You're being God for a moment.
Yeah, it's amazing when you go and you hear people talk
Yeah.
about your solution, talk about what you did, give you feedback. It's just very, very, very brilliant. But at early stage, I would say just start. Don't overthink it. Start. Go and look for whether it's paid or not paid. Go and start somewhere and start work. And as you begin to grind and do the work from first few months to the first few years, opportunities begin to open up for you. And again, there are more product managers in demand out there than there are product managers. So it's a very, very high value role. We beg people now with millions that they should come and take job, and they'll still be telling us we're not paying them enough because of what everybody
Wow.
in dollars now.
So you guys are big guys there.
Now, for a product manager, especially if you have experience, right? That's why I say start first.
Yeah.
Go and acquire experience and don't think too much about money first. By the time you've gotten that experience, people will be begging you from all over to come and take the money, because you've basically created yourself as a value, someone who brings a lot of value to the table. Yeah.
Guys, if you have not still subscribed, please click on the subscribe button now. I know you're enjoying the conversation. Click on the subscribe button right now. All right, so the final question is a misunderstood question.
Okay.
So what are some of the myths around product management that you would like to debunk? Let's go.
Okay. People think that, number one, the first myth is that people don't know what product management is. People don't understand it, and maybe the biggest thing is that you need to be a developer. You need to know how to write code to do product management. No, big fat lie. It's a plus if you are technical, okay?
Yeah.
But it doesn't hold you back from achieving all that you need to achieve, okay? I don't code, although I understand technology very well. I understand algorithms and everything, okay, very well. I understand logic of how they build all the connecting parts, but I don't write code. Okay? Yeah. So you don't need to know how to code. That's one major myth in product management.
So that's all.
Oh, I should list plenty. There are plenty.
You can do 2 or 3.
Okay, so let me give 2 more.
Okay.
The second one is that it's closely related to the first one, right? That you need to understand how to
Okay.
speak the technical jargons, right, to be a good product manager. And that is also a very big lie. If you don't code, you don't also need to be speaking all the technical jargons, really. In fact, the best product managers know how to explain what they do in simple terms. So if I want to really challenge anyone that works with me, I tell you, this thing you are explaining right now, explain it to me as if I'm a 5-year-old. Don't use any technical jargon. If you're able to explain it simply like that, then I know you have thorough understanding of what you're saying. But if you have to introduce technical jargon and this and that, then I know that you still don't have depth in terms of understanding what you're speaking to. Okay? Then the last one is that when you're a product manager, you have to know everything. You have to be brilliant and everything. I'm currently in a group, and someone senior in my organization asked me today that, what do I think about this? How is our solution going to address this problem? And he mentioned a particular problem, and that was my first time of ever seeing that. And I was like, sorry, I don't understand. What does this mean? And I literally responded to the person, I'm sorry, I don't understand, but please give me some time to research. Within 30 minutes, I understood exactly what it, because I went online, did a quick research, understood everything, and understood how our solution was solving the problem. So what am I saying in
Exactly.
essence?
Yeah.
You don't need to know everything, but right now information is available at your fingertips. And if I wanted to even be different, I could have gone to research and just left the person on red, go and research and come back and start talking. But again, I'll be vulnerable. I don't know is I don't know. But and today
Yeah.
I learned something new, right?
Yeah.
So that's one very, very critical thing. You don't have to know everything, but you need to know where to get information about everything.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Kolade.
Thank you.
I have learned a lot. I'm not going to lie. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone out there has learned something. Please don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share this. There's somebody out there who wants to go into product management and would need to learn from this. If you would like to have a career person here, you want us to debunk a career, you want us to simplify a career role for you, please leave it in the comments and we'll work on that. We'll do that just for you. Thank you so much, Kolade, for coming on the show. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.